Welcome to Barnstable Today. I'm Nick Cortez. Well, the alternative energy future of the town of Barnstable is here right now. As you can see behind me, we're at the Hyannis Water Pollution Control Facility, and two 100-kilowatt wind turbines are already erected, and they just need to be turned on, essentially. But that won't happen until an 800-kilowatt solar photovoltaic installation gets finished over on the other side of the Water Pollution Control Facility here in Hyannis. However, we couldn't resist. We needed to come down here and take a look for ourselves and show you what these beautiful things look like. And the best narrator that we could find is joining us in just a moment. We're talking to Town Energy Coordinator Richard Elric, who'll tell you all about these two wind turbines behind me and about the solar photovoltaic installation that will be finished in the coming months over on the other side of the facility. So let's talk to Richard here on Barnstable Today. Thanks for joining us, Richard.
You're very welcome, Nick. My pleasure to be here.
So we've talked about this on Barnstable this morning quite a bit, but now we're finally out here. We get to take a look at these things. It's got to be a nice sense of accomplishment for you and for everybody else involved in putting this project together.
Well, certainly that's the case, and this is something the town's been working on really since last spring, early last spring, though I should say it goes back probably 10 years before that time with respect to all of the feasibility studies that were done and looking at this location, particularly for wind. And then as a result of the availability of American Recovery and Reinvestment Act monies, the ARA monies that became available to the town, this really was the perfect project. It started out being a project that was going to have four 225 kilowatt wind turbines. That was our goal originally. And then we were notified by the FAA that the heights that we needed for those taller turbines were not going to be possible. And so we completely reconfigured the project and then made it one that included both the wind. These are Northwind 100 turbines produced in Vermont by Northern Power, and then across the way to the north in the water filtration beds we also have what will turn out to be 800 plus kilowatts of ground-mounted solar PV.
So we'll take a look at that in just a moment over there where the solar array will be. But the first thing that I notice when I look at these turbines is that they really aren't all that big, and obviously the FAA regulations dictate that. How much power do these produce? 100 kilowatts, right?
100 kilowatts. They're going to produce approximately 20% of all of the power that's going to be produced here. This facility uses about 2,100,000 kilowatt hours of electricity a year, and the whole project will produce about 53% of that total 2,100,000 kilowatt hours. So it's a substantial portion.
So then, in terms of the type of savings we're going to realize when these two turbines and eventually the solar is online, how much money does that equate into for the town and then by extension to the ratepayers?
Well, the final determination obviously will be based on the kind of energy production year we get, whether we've got a lot of sunlight, a lot of wind, but certainly in the range of $150,000 to $160,000 a year. We hope will result as a result of producing this green electricity.
And of course, the beauty of that is that this is fully funded by American Recovery and Reinvestment Act funds, so it's all pure benefit to the town. We don't need to worry about repaying the debt on this.
Well, that's true. I mean, obviously, you want all of the projects to be as cost-effective as they can. This is going to avoid over 500 tons annually of greenhouse gas emissions, which is a significant factor.
Sure.
But just by way of pointing out again that this is funded through the stimulus monies of the federal government, and not only does it reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, but it was a real job creator. We had the construction workers here, certainly engineers, energy consultants, town employees, and others in the private sector. So this produces not only green electricity, but really helped with some economic opportunities that were created as a result also.
Okay, so we've switched locations, and now we are standing in front of what soon will be a 800 kilowatt solar photovoltaic installation. Right now, it just looks like a lot of level dirt, more or less, Richard. But if you could set up what this is going to look like as a finished project, what's it going to look like?
Well, certainly just by way of background for your viewers, Beers' Way runs all along our left-hand side here, and we're facing to the north. And this is going to be the northern portion of the solar PV project. Again, these are in the water filtration beds at the water pollution control facility. And what is going to happen here, as you can already see, beginning to happen, is that the berms that separate the water filtration beds are being knocked down, the area is being leveled, being compacted. Some additional types of sand is brought in here. There's going to be a barrier fabric going down to prevent weeds from coming up, and then you're going to have crushed stone, and then you're going to have close to 3,000 individual solar PV panels erected all over this area, and that ultimately are going to provide some 900,000 annual kilowatt hours for this facility.
That's pretty impressive, and to think about this as a giant field of solar panels is something that I can't quite wrap my head around just yet, because I know in my lifetime, and I would imagine in many of our viewers' lifetimes, they've never seen an installation so big before. Well,
and I think that's an excellent point to make, Nick. This, upon completion, will become the largest ground-mounted solar PV system in Massachusetts, as I understand it. There is a pretty good-sized one being built in Fairhaven for their cap landfill. There's a Brightfield that was turned over to a solar panel system in the Worcester area, and then Pittsfield will actually be larger than this facility when it's completed sometime late spring. So we'll have the honor of being the largest for a while, but Pittsfield will jump ahead of us a little bit. But then when we get our cap landfill covered with PV, then we'll sort of shoot ahead one more time.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said a moment ago when we were over taking a look at the wind turbines, this really is kind of just the beginning. It's the first big project for the town of Barnstable. And I wonder if you can give us the stats that you might have in terms of how much we could expect to save in carbon emissions and so on and so forth through this component of our project.
Well, as I mentioned, the total project is approximately 1,000 kilowatts. This is going to represent about 75% of the total project. The whole project is going to cover about 53% of the energy use of the facility. So this is really about 40% of that use, 900,000 kilowatt hours out of a total use here at the facility of about 2,100,000 kilowatt hours. So it's going to be a majority of the work. And honestly, if I can be a little frank, if we had it to do over again, if the airport weren't here, we would have preferred to go forward with 4 large turbines. It would have been more efficient than the solar. Though for this location and in this amount, the solar will be quite effective.
And certainly nothing to sneeze at. I mean, this is an impressive, basically 1 megawatt alternative energy combined system. Now, when do we expect this portion of our project to be finished, and when will the whole thing go online?
Well, as you can see with those wind turbines to our south, they were the first to go. They were really quite quickly installed once the NSTAR interconnection work was engineered. We still have the system upgrades with respect to that interconnection work that has to be done. But this array of PV is going to be installed over the next couple of months, all of November, and right up until Christmas they're going to be doing installations of the PV panels. And they have told us, weather permitting, that they'll be done with this before Christmas. So we'll have all the PV done, the turbines will be up, and then there's the final commissioning of the project that will take perhaps a month and a half. And we should be producing electricity sometime in March, we're hoping.
Thanks, as always, to Richard for the good information and insight. In meetings tonight in the town of Barnstable, the town council convenes at 7 o'clock in the town hall hearing room. Well, that's all for now. I'm Nick Cortez, and we'll see you next time on Barnstable Today.